Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm very excited to share with you an interview with Josh Ruben. Josh wrote, directed, and stars in the movie Scare Me, which drops on Shudder today, October 1st. You can go and check out our review of the film, also up right now. All three of us enjoyed it quite a bit, and I was very excited to talk to Josh about writing it, directing it, emptying out his 401k to produce it, all the questions. It's a fun interview, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey, Les, how's it going?
Going great. Thank you so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, hell yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So I got to watch the screener last night for Scare Me, which was super fun. I think everybody who's seen Aya Cash in anything is probably a huge Aya Cash fan. Um, I had seen in an interview that I mean, this is your baby. You wrote it, you're starring in it, you directed it, you cashed out your 401k to pay for it. Uh, One of the things that always strikes me in horror movies is where the money's spent, or really any indie movie. It's a labor of love. Where the money's spent. I remember stories about John Carpenter freaking people out by dropping half the budget on the cameras and stuff like that for Halloween and things like that. Where were you hyper concerned about your choices for this project, for where the money went?
That's such a great question. The biggest concern, there were two. The first one was the house. The cabin is a character in itself. So I wanted, and Brendan, my cinematographer, my co-producer, wanted a house that was interesting to film. So, and also, one that was in my hometown, so that was sort of localized to my parents' house, where I would be housed, where Brandon would be housed, where our first AD would sleep as well. So saving money on those costs. So not just the location itself and getting a decent deal on that house, which I think we did for a small movie as we are, and that films well and that has a sort of variety of looks and aesthetics to it, but also crew housing. That was a big one. I have a childhood friend who actually just sold the house that the crew stayed in, but her folks I think they were in New Orleans at the time, on sort of vacation for the winter. And so you had this 5-bedroom house with extra alcoves and the whole thing to house the crew. So we did like the truly indie thing where like the crew lived in the house, with the fridge and, the bathrooms, and kind of lived, sort of dorm style. I think we got a few places, but that was probably the biggest one. So it's crew housing and location for sure.
That's great. Something that kept striking me were the small touches, moments in telling these stories, without spoiling anything. To set up for the movie for folks is a couple of people telling scary stories to each other while stuck in a powerless cabin. But there's little moments where, for instance, your character Fred's creeping up the stairs telling a werewolf story, and it's a real paw for a moment there, or Aya comes up behind a couch and it's real. Her teeth are different. Where can you talk a little bit about the writing editing process of deciding how much of this to put in, how much of it to pull back, where you as a writer director wanted that balance to be between fantastical and the comedic real moments that break it?
Yeah, I think the rule was when you're on a roll and when a character is in flow with a story, the more in flow they are, and the more on a roll they are with the story, the more transportive it is, right? So, Fred gets a piece of that with the werewolf story after kind of sucking at it, but with Aya, with Fanny encouraging him, he becomes more of a powerful and encouraged and empowered storyteller. But when Chris and Aya, or when Aya's character, especially with the power of Carlo coming in, of Chris Redd's character coming in, you're kind of 2 against 1. You have a better story than anything, so it becomes kind of the most transportive of all without giving anything away. So I think the rules are. I sort of went off the rails a bit with how those sorts of things materialize, but I that was kind of the rule, was the more the better the story was kind of going, the more transportive, the more it kind of manifested.
In my head, it makes it feel a bit like a video game streak. Like, all right, you've
Yeah.
kept my suspension of disbelief long enough. Now you can, you know what, your voice is sounding better. Go ahead and do the voice.
Yeah.
One of the things, there's a lot of meta happening in this movie. Anytime you've got a movie about writers or about finishing that project, about gender politics with a male and female lead, there's going to be references within references. But one of the things that I just kept laughing about and had to wonder how much was going on in your head at the time is the fact that you've got a werewolf project coming up.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Can't get away from it. And with Blizzard.
Yeah. So I was wondering if that was just the order of how these projects happened. Was that already something in gestation for you, or was it just happenstance after you wrapped up Scare Me that you got a werewolf project?
Oh, complete happenstance. In fact, the way it happened was 2 producers, Matt Miller and Natalie Metzger, who work for or who own a company called Vanishing Angle. They produced Thunder Road, Jim Cummings' movie. Mm-hmm. They actually have a werewolf movie that they finished before mine, that Jim wrote and directed for Orion. And they came to a test screening, I think the first one I held, of Scare Me, and they were just sort of like, they didn't know what to expect. They came, they enjoyed it, gave feedback, and then pretty much as soon as I wrapped Scare Me, they wrote and were like, "You're going to think this is crazy, but we're aboard to produce a werewolf film. Would you be interested in pitching on it? Having seen Scare Me, and the fact that you reference a werewolf and the fact that it's in the cabin, maybe there's maybe too many similarities. Maybe you'll be sort of reluctant." But I read the script, which is just brilliant. It's by a writer named Misha Wolf, and it's part of Ubisoft's Women in Film and Television Fellows program. And it just happened by total coincidence. And I read it sort of expecting, oh man, it's going to be a bummer, but it was so unexpected. And I just thought it was fun as hell. And I was able to go back to the Hudson Valley where I shot Scare Me with several million more dollars, and bring a gig back to some folks who'd worked on my tiny movie. And that was really awesome. That was a great feeling.
Was there anything that you just couldn't make happen that broke your heart on Scare Me?
I don't think there was anything that broke my heart. I mean, I got a brilliant lead actress, Chris Redd. I got Becky Drysdale. I think, I don't think there was anything that broke my heart. There were moments when I thought, oh God, there's a blizzard coming and we have to break early. We have to end the day earlier than I thought. But it all ended up working out. There were some hard lessons learned on the other side of it, because we're a very small movie. So, again, I paid out of pocket for a good deal of stuff, but I was so happy to do it. So I can't in any way look back on it and think, man, there was anything that, that bummed me out. I would have loved more time, yet somehow we wrapped the movie, half a day early. I'm a first time filmmaker, and we went to Sundance, and I was only able to go to the opening night, premiere midnight, for Scare Me, and I had to miss all the other screenings because I had to get back to Fleischman's New York 48 hours later to start prep on Werewolves. And that is a problem of privilege unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, oh, you had to leave Sundance early to go do your next movie, but I didn't really get to kind of live in it a little. It was kind of doing press, and then I was up late and I was getting tired watching my own movie. And then
you're like, sorry, Leonard Maltin, I gotta go, man. We're working here.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's so great. Him and Jesse Maltin, they're so awesome. And then it was upstate, so I would I'd be so excited to just kind of, that's the bittersweet thing about a press day like this. It's certainly about the state of the world right now. It's kind of like, while your dreams come true, but there's a virus on it. You know what I mean? I would love to be able to be in a room with you with the mic and be, at USC tonight with, a bunch of students and doing a talk back and all this stuff. But, the state of our world is what it is. And, hopefully the silver lining of it is that people can watch a movie that it provides a little bit of a escape from the darkness of our world.
And I feel like Scare Me rides a really nice line in terms of format, whether you intended this or, in the timeline, you can't have really intended this. But there's so many Zoom call type episodes or shows happening right now because it's just what we can do. And so often I've seen Campfire Tales horror movies, but they always break away in an anthology format to a fully filmed, story as the kid's telling it. I love that Scare Me keeps you in the cabin with them, minus the magical things we discussed earlier, and gets you at a certain point on board and into these storytellings and reminds you of what that feels like to put it in your own head. It's a fun trick. And I really enjoyed it. Both my wife and I laughed.
Oh, thank you.
Both kind of laughed and jumped at various moments. Chris Rich just damn near steals it. Oh, yeah. Really well done.
Good. Thank you so much. Oh, man, I'm so glad you dig it.
Folks can see it on Shudder coming out here pretty soon. I'm excited that I already got to watch it. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. Thank you so much for talking to me about it.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to Werewolves Within as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
This is off topic. You mentioned Jim Cummings earlier, and I don't know if I do know enough folks don't know who Jim Cummings is. So for folks out there who don't know who Jim Cummings is, go look up Wolf of Snow Hollow when it comes out. Go look up Krishna, Thunder Road. He's great.
He's awesome, and I called Jim in advance of Scare Me because he wrote, directed, and produced a movie, Thunder Road, before I took on Scare Me. And I was sort of like, even though I'd self-directed before, I hadn't self-directed a film, and Jim's advice was, as I saw it, was learn your lines and be nice. That's the best you can do as the leader. And I was like, fuck yeah, I can do both of those things. And it was awesome advice. He was exactly right. I'm glad I did it.
I've heard you say in interviews before that it's, there's something important about sometimes just going out and making the thing you're going to make, not taking meetings about it. Just if you can make it, just try to make it. And I'm sure Jim Cummings has probably screamed that at the end of every interview. it's
crazy. It's crazy.
Thank you so much.
You really have to. Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure, man. Thanks so much for taking the time.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.